everyone, a very warm welcome. You are watching Janata Television and this is English Bulletin with me, Utsa Bhatrai. The top stories first. Devotees flock to temples despite coronavirus threat. Government's ban on mass gathering at temples ineffective. More than 129,000 people in Nepal infected with coronavirus. Number of active cases surged to 38,000. Government lifts ban on arrival of tourists, aims to revive the tourism industry amidst high risk of infection. Global coronavirus cases rise by one-day record of 400,000. Infection rising despite governments enacting new restrictions. And Premier League resumes after international break with more thrills to the games. Champions Liverpool draw in Merseyside derby. And now the news in detail. Today is the second day of Dasai, the biggest festival of Nepal, which lasts up to 15 days. Devotees throng to temples of Hindu goddesses and offer prayers on this day. The second day of Dasai is dedicated to goddess Brahmacharini, who is considered the embodiment of supreme knowledge. Worshipping the goddess is believed to give a knowledge to the devotees that helps them stay above the worldly desires. Goddess Brahmacharini is also considered as a symbol of devotion. The goddess is the unmarried form of goddess Parvati, one of the three supreme goddesses in Hindu religion. Devotees have already started gathering at temples for the worship today. Meanwhile, a large number of people were seen flocking to the temples on the first day of Dasai yesterday. Although the government had announced not to open temples due to the risk of spreading coronavirus, devotees in considerable numbers were seen at the religious sites. Bhadrakali temple in the heart of the capital was jam-packed when JanataTelevision reached there for news coverage yesterday morning. Although the crowd at the temple was less than in previous years, people were still present in large numbers disregarding the risk of coronavirus. The government has banned mass gatherings at temples and religious sites. Only the daily prayers is allowed in temples across the country, but this has not discouraged worshippers from visiting the temples. The government has confirmed 3,167 new cases of coronavirus across the country during the latest round of tests. According to the Ministry of Health and Population, Kathmandu Valley alone reported 1,746 new cases. Within the valley, 1,451 cases were reported in Kathmandu district, followed by 152 in Lalitpur and 143 in Bhaktapur. The total caseload of coronavirus in the country has now climbed to 129,304, while the number of active cases is 38,737. Meanwhile, the death toll from coronavirus has climbed to 727 across the country. The ministry yesterday confirmed the deaths of 12 more people due to coronavirus. So far, 98,840 persons have recovered from the disease in Nepal. Nepal is currently among the top 35 countries that have been most affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. This is Janata Bulletin. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back after the break. We continue with other national news. Chairman of Prajatantra Party, Kamal Thapa, has been admitted to hospital. Chairman Thapa, who tested positive for novel coronavirus on Friday, had to be admitted in hospital after health complications yesterday. Chairman Thapa has been admitted in Om Hospital, Chabil, after complaints of headache, fever and complications in respiratory system. Chairman Thapa has been receiving treatment in ICU. District Police Office Parsa has recovered a large cache of gold kept illegally at an apartment in Birgunj. A police team led by SP Ganga Panta found the gold at Ganesh apartment in Birgunj yesterday. The gold was kept illegally at room number 303 in third floor of the apartment. It has been learned that the gold belongs to Ashok Sinha, an Indian national from East Chamarpan in Bihar. Sinha had rented the apartment recently. He is the brother of Surendra Sinha, a political party leader in Bihar. Police have taken control of a total of 22 kilograms of gold from the apartment. SP Panta informed that they are investigating the case further. In other news, demonstrations against heinous crime of rape have been taking place across the country after a high number of rape cases were reported in the past few months in Nepal. Hundreds of young protesters yesterday gathered in Itahari, Sunsari against growing rape cases. The youngsters have cited they were forced to take the street after the government failed to implement rape laws against the perpetrators. Almost 100 young protesters gathered in the main alley of Itahari against growing rape cases. All the protesters gathered at Purbala in Itahari could be seen wearing black dresses and black headband as a symbolic protest against rape and sexual abuse against women. Rape cases have drastically increased even during the COVID-19 crisis. Therefore, the protest has been organized to draw the attention of concerned stakeholders, the protesters added. The demonstrators have demanded for strict punishment against the culprits of rape. Youngsters holding different placards also chanted slogans to amend the constitution for strictly penalizing the rapist. And now the news from the economic front. Arrival of foreign tourists, which was banned since 7 months due to coronavirus pandemic, has reopened in the country starting from yesterday. Although the country has been recording high number of daily infections, the government has decided to welcome international tourists in Nepal starting today. According to Nepal Tourism Board, tourism industry has suffered a heavy loss of an estimated 70 billion rupees. Tourism sector has remained closed since the lockdown was first announced in March 24 this year. Likewise, on-arrival visa service closed since March 18 has also been reopened by the government. However, PCR report of international tourists willing to visit Nepal has been made mandatory. Similarly, the tourists are also required to stay in quarantine for 7 days after arrival and explore the country only after one more PCR test. Tourism entrepreneurs, however, has demanded that tourists should only be quarantined for 3 days and then retested before their tour begins. We'll be taking a short break here at Janata Bulletin. Stay tuned for international and sports news. Welcome back, and now the international news. Global coronavirus cases rose by more than 400,000 for the first time this weekend, Reuters reported. According to the news agency, it is a record one-day increase despite much of Europe enacting new restrictions to curb the outbreak. Europe, which successfully tamed down the first surge of infections, has emerged as the new coronavirus epicenter in recent weeks. The continent is reporting on average 140,000 cases a day over the past week. As a region, Europe is reporting more daily cases than India, Brazil, and the United States combined. Of every 100 infections reported around the world, 34 were from European countries, according to the Reuters analysis. The region is currently reporting 1 million new infections about every 9 days and has reported more than 6.3 million cases since the pandemic began. Major European countries, United Kingdom, France, Russia, Netherlands and Spain accounted for about half of Europe's new cases in recent weeks. India is reporting fewer cases this month compared to September, with 69,000 cases per day. In the United States, which has the largest total number of cases and deaths in the world, new infections are edging higher since early September. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern won a second term in office Saturday in an election landslide of historic proportions, AP reported. With most votes counted, Ardern's Liberal Labour Party was winning 49% of the vote compared to 27% of its main challenger, the Conservative National Party. Labour was on target to win an outright majority of the seats in Parliament, something that hasn't happened since New Zealand implemented a proportional voting system 24 years ago. Typically, parties must form alliance to govern, but this time Ardern and Labour can go it alone, reports the news agency. In a victory speech in front of hundreds of cheering supporters in Auckland, Ardern said her party had gotten more support from New Zealanders than at any time in the last 50 years. This has not been an ordinary election and it's not an ordinary time, she said. It's been full of uncertainty and anxiety, and we set out to be an antidote to that. You are watching Janata Bulletin, and now the latest from the world of sports. Champions Liverpool held to a 2-2 draw against their Merseyside rivals Everton after a late VAR drama as Premier League returned after international break yesterday. Everton are, however, still without a victory in the Merseyside derby for a decade, BBC reported. Everton came from behind twice to maintain their unbeaten start to the Premier League, as Liverpool were denied a stoppage time winner by the video assistant referee. Sadio Mane actually gave an early lead to Liverpool in the 3rd minute, but was fuming after a dirty challenge by Everton keeper Jordan Pickford on Liverpool defender Virgil van Dijk. The challenge sent off the defender injured, and VAR failed to review the tackle. Everton, who had won their previous 7 games in all competitions, equalised swiftly at Goodison Park when Michael Keane headed in a corner from the outstanding James Rodriguez. Liverpool are understood to have asked the Premier League to investigate the application of VAR in 2 controversial decisions during their 2-2 draw at Everton on Saturday. Similarly, Chelsea failed to secure a victory against Southampton United and were limited to a 3-3 draw. Both Manchester United and City were victorious against Newcastle and Arsenal in their important matches. We are at the end of Janata Bulletin, and the headlines once again. Devotees flock to temples despite coronavirus threat. Government's ban on mass gatherings at temple ineffective. More than 129,000 people in Nepal infected with coronavirus. Number of active cases surged to 38,000. Government lifts ban on arrival of tourists, aims to revive the tourism industry amidst high risk of infection. Global coronavirus cases rise by one-day record of 400,000. Infections are rising despite governments enacting new restrictions. And Premier League resumes after international break with more thrills to the games. Champions Liverpool draw in Merseyside derby. And that's all from the English News Desk for today. You can follow Janata Television and our programs on various social media platforms, including on our website janatasamachar.com. We urge all our viewers to take necessary precautions against coronavirus. Keep washing your hands, keep watching Janata Television. Namaste.